Maybe like me, you're in a position to decide whether you want to stick with the Ultra or any conventional flagship phone or switch to the Fold. I bought the S24 Ultra half a year ago and Z Fold 6 a week ago. Today I'll go through the pros and cons of each of them and talk about the design, the perks of having a larger screen, how the applications look on each of them, battery life, and other things. Frankly, these two phones cannot be more different than each other. I am more a scientist, and to measure everything more precisely, I wrote an Android application that measures the power consumption of each device. The main difference of the two is, of course, the design. The Fold does fold. You can use the hinge in the middle to open and close it. It is slightly thicker compared to the S24 Ultra. On the other hand, when closed, it is shorter and narrower. The fingerprint scanner on the Fold is on the side, which makes it easy to use when the phone is open. Both of them have USB-C charging, no headphone jack, and no SD card. The speaker placement is also different. The Galxy Z Fold6 has a stereo speaker, and both drivers are on the cover screen half of the device. The S24 Ultra has 5 cameras overall, a selfie camera, an ultra-wide, the main lens, and 2 zoom lenses. The Z Fold 6 also has 5 cameras, but it has 2 selfie cameras, one of which is under the display, 1 selfie cam on the cover screen, 1 ultra-wide, 1 main, and 1 zoom. I'll do a detailed review of them later in the video. There's another design difference between them. There's a ring around the cameras on the Z Fold, which is for optics only as far as I know. Let's move on the screen, which is the main difference between the two. The Galxy Z Fold 6 has 2 screens, the cover screen and the main screen. The cover screen is both shorter and narrower than the main screen on the S24 Ultra. It is very similar to what we used to get on the Xperia flagship phones, which I've been using for many years. The perk of having such a narrow screen is that you can handle the phone much better one-handed, and I love it. The downside is it is narrow. In UX design, there's a problem called the fat finger problem, which means you have to design the UI elements concerning people with fat fingers. Mine are not particularly big, but if you have a larger fingers, you may find yourself accidentally touching things you shouldn't on the cover screen of the Galxy Z Fold 6. You won't have the problem on the S24 Ultra. Another thing that makes the Ultra more attractive is the anti-reflective screen, which helps a lot when you are often outdoors. That said, the screen of the Fold 6 is bright enough, and I never had a problem with it even when I go outside under bright sunlight. What the Z Fold does have though is the inner screen, and just starting by typing, the big keyboard on it is amazing. I love typing on it, and it feels much better than the tiny one on the S24 Ultra. There are other applications that look amazing on it. Particularly, I love reading Kindle books on the Fold, and it feels a lot like my Kindle Oasis, which is my favorite Kindle of all time. I also love reading scientific articles on the Fold. Everything looks much better, including the charts, and it's not remotely comparable to a smaller screen on the S24 Ultra. YouTube also looks super nice, where you can interact with the comments while watching a video. You can do the same on the S24 Ultra, but the video becomes too small for my taste. Google Maps is another favorite application of mine on the Fold because you can navigate and search while using the map, but that is not possible on the S24 Ultra. The web browser is also perfect on the Fold, and I realized my eyes won't be bothered as much browsing for hours on the Fold compared to the Ultra. There are other applications that are not super optimized for the Fold, namely Instagram. In my opinion, does not really look good. In general, you find icons and pictures not looking great on the Fold in many situations. The charts also look great on the larger screen of the Fold. If you are a person who is into checking stock prices, you will enjoy interacting with the chart on the Fold much better. There is something annoying about the screen of the Fold though, and that's the visible crease, of course, in the middle of the screen. It is not as deep as the previous generations, but if there is a light reflecting on it, it is definitely noticeable. The screen itself is also glossy and reflects light unevenly compared to the normal glass screens like the one on the S24 Ultra or iPhone 15 Pro Max. Both of them support the S Pen. The difference is that the S Pen on the S24 Ultra can be stored inside the body, while the one on the Fold needs to be attached to the case. For me, it makes a huge difference for many reasons. For one, the Fold won't stay straight when you put it on the table, which is a pity since it wobbles. Secondly, removing the S Pen from the case is more difficult than removing it from the body of the S24 Ultra. And thirdly, it makes the phone bulkier and also reduces your options for cases. This brings me to the next point, which is accessories. You may have seen a video I've made where I turned the S24 Ultra into a filmmaking rig. This is not easy to do on the Fold. In general, there are more options to accessorize your phone on the S24 Ultra compared to the Z Fold 6. Another thing is the lack of cases. There are nice cases out there for the Fold, like the official one I'm using right now from Samsung, but not every manufacturer makes cases for the Fold. The options for the S24 Ultra are unlimited. This is a generic thing that I wanted to mention, but it's also a good segue to the sponsor of today's video, which is MagBak. If you want to use MagSafe accessories, your phone should have a MagSafe case. For example, I'm using a MagBak case with their nice wallet on the back of my Galxy S24 Ultra whenever I go out. The MagBak case is magnetic, making the S24 Ultra attachable to any surface that attracts magnets. There's also a complementary metal piece in the box that you can attach to any surface you want, like a cupboard or your car, to then attach the phone to it to keep it firmly in place. I use it a lot when I'm cooking and want to attach the phone to a surface and watch YouTube videos. The magnet is super strong on the case, and I guarantee that it won't fall off. They also have a nice wallet with two sections, one for cash and one for your cards. You can add many cards to the back of the wallet, which is neat. The hoop on the back also makes it easy for you to hold the phone. You can also use it as a kickstand when you want to watch videos. It is super chic. One important thing is that there is a magnetic shielding that supports the S Pen, which means you can still use it with MagSafe compatibility. If you like it, use the link in the description down below with the code TECHMO15 to get 15% discount. Thanks MagBak for sponsoring the video and keeping the channel unbiased. Moving to software, both of them have One UI and 7 years of software support, but there are some perks on the Fold that are not available on the Ultra. The main thing is that for me, multitasking. On the Ultra, you can divide the screen in two and run two applications simultaneously, but on the Fold, you can divide the screen vertically, which is super cool, and in my opinion, it is real multitasking. For example, last week I had a lot of meetings and sometimes I had to search for something real quick. That's why I was running Google Meets on the left side and a browser on the right side. It worked great. Sometimes I play chess on one screen and browse Reddit on the other when the opponent take too long to move the pieces. If you like the video so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. I'm going to do a long-term review on the Fold in a few weeks. Let's move on to performance, thermals, and battery life. Both of them have a Snapdragon 8 Generation 3. And in the test that I've done, the Ultra noticeably gets a better score. My assumption is that either Fold underclocks the chipset or it is throttling faster and therefore the performance suffers. When it comes to thermals, both of them have a very similar temperature throughout my test. At least when it comes to body temperature, the main reason is that the Fold does throttle faster than the Ultra and keeps the heat down. Ultra is already a bit aggressive in this aspect, so it is interesting that Fold decided to throttle even faster than the Ultra. The interesting thing when looking at the heat map is only half of the Fold gets hot when the other stays completely cool even under heavy tasks, and it makes the heat dissipation interesting, but neither of them has any meaningful advantage over the other. When it comes to battery life, both of them last a full day with my personal usage. The Ultra has a 600 mAh larger battery, which is 12% more than the Fold. You may think that the larger inner display uses a lot more battery, but that's not the case. I measured the power consumption on both of them, and in units of watts, they are using a similar amount of battery. The camera is always the Achilles heel of the Fold, and frankly, this is one of the main reasons I'm very hesitant to make the full switch between the Z Fold and the Ultra. For one, the Fold6 does not have a 5x zoom lens as the S24 Ultra does, and for me personally, the 5x zoom is the greatest thing on a phone after 120Hz displays. It makes it so much easier to capture wildlife, but even on the main lens and the 3x zoom, there's a noticeable quality difference between them since the sensor of the S24 Ultra is better and captures more details. Let's take a look at some examples. In daylight, it is very difficult to tell the difference between the two pictures of the main lens because of computational photography. The difference is minimal since both of them have the same software and chipset, especially if you don't shoot 200 megapixel with the S24 Ultra. That's the same with the ultra-wide lens. Even when I zoomed in, I couldn't find any meaningful difference between the cameras. Even on the selfie camera, they are performing similarly. The selfie camera inside is kinda trash, but the one on the cover screen performs very well. Everything changes when we use the zoom lens though. The optical zoom on the S24 Ultra is max 5 times, and when I zoomed 10 times into the subject, the details were much better and the image was sharper. From this angle, the picture that the S24 Ultra took shows much more details. If you go to the new city and you want to take pictures of buildings or wildlife, you are going to love the S24 Ultra. Another difference is night photography. The S24 Ultra sensor, I assume, is bigger and less more light in. Also, it is 200 megapixels. Maybe at first glance, you don't see much of a difference. But if you zoom into the subject, you see the Ultra captured more details. In general, I find the pictures on the S24 Ultra at night sharper with more details, even without zooming in. For example, if you look at the moon here, the Ultra captured the details on the surface, while the Z Fold failed to do so and it is overexposed. So I have a bit of a hot take here. I come from a photography background and I love to do pixel peeping, but in my opinion, the camera difference is not noticeable to an average person, especially on a smaller screen. It is really difficult to tell which one is which. if you don't have a trained eye for details or you don't zoom in on a larger screen, so you're going to be fine with either of them. Durability is another factor when choosing a phone. Obviously, having a hinge and moving parts can make the phones less durable compared to Samsung S24 Ultra, which is built like a brick and doesn't have many compromises. I dropped the Fold once and my heart almost stopped, but with Ultra I don't care when I drop it. On top of that, the Z Fold is IP48, but the Ultra is IP68. Basically, the first number, which is 4 against 6, shows how resistant they are to small objects like sand, and Z Fold6 is not as resistant as the S24 Ultra, even though it has improved over the Z Fold5. This also affects the phone's resale value, which is not as high as the S24 Ultra. This is a bit subjective, but I always have a harder time selling the Fold phones compared to the Ultra. Which one should you pick? I'll list the advantage of the S24 Ultra first and then the Z Fold6. Get the S24 Ultra if you care about the camera quality, whether it is photo or video, especially if you want to have a 5x zoom and you take photos in low light. Get the S24 Ultra if you are not a fan of light reflecting on your screen or you don't need a larger screen and you are fine with a normal one. Get the S24 Ultra since it's IP68 versus IP48 and you're in an environment when there are a lot of small particles, like if you work on a construction site or you go to the beach often. Also get the S24 Ultra for the integrated S-Pen in the body. Also get the Ultra for better battery life and more accessories. Get the Fold for obviously much bigger screen, especially if you want to multitask like having a meeting and having a browser on the side, or you're stuck on trains for hours and want to read a book. Get it if you want a unique phone. Honestly, that's the only reasons you want to get the Fold, which is basically the larger screen for productivity. It basically replaces your tablet, Kindle, and phone. In any other aspect, I think the Ultra is a better phone. I also did a dedicated review of the Galxy Z Fold6, which you can see here next, and I did a dedicated long-term review of the S24 Ultra, which you can check out here. Thanks for tuning into Techmo, and I will see you in the next one.